Good afternoon. My name is Sheila Lamb, and I'm with the Virginia SBDC Network. For those of you that are not familiar with our organization, the Virginia Small Business Development Center is a partnership program between the U.S. Small Business Administration, George Mason University, and local host institutions throughout Virginia. With 26 locations across the Commonwealth, we provide training and technical assistance to small businesses in their local communities. Our one-on-one advising services are available at no charge. Today's webinar, Keeping Up with Digital Marketing, A's for Your Q's, ChatGPT, is presented by the Virginia SBDC Network. Please mark your calendars for our next webinar in our Digital Bootcamp series, Grow Your Business with Digital Marketing, on August 19th, and I'll drop that registration link into the chat momentarily. We are recording today's presentation, and it will be posted on our website, virginiasbdc.org. Due to the large number of participants, everyone's microphone is muted and the chat feature is turned off. But if you have questions during the presentation, you can type those into the Q&A box and we will address them at the end of the session, time permitting. We have also enabled the live transcript function, which you can show or hide via your own meeting controls. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter for today's session, Cameron Nelson, CEO of Tenzing Startup Consultants. Cameron has over 20 years of experience in technology as a senior tech consultant in Silicon Valley, helping Fortune 500 companies improve their digital marketing and e-commerce. At the same time, he also founded several tech companies, including a software as a service website for tree preservation and a blockchain platform for nonprofits. Cameron is accomplished in language, culture, has an MBA and MA. He believes new technology products have the ability to help shape our world for the better. Please join me in welcoming Cameron Nelson.
Thank you for the introduction. And hello, everybody. Welcome to this session on AI and ChatGPT. It seems like every month we hear new news about how AI is advancing and enabling new types of services and features and how we interact online and how we do business online. And today's presentation is going to look at the main AI options for you to use as a small business owner, or maybe you're an entrepreneur with a startup that you're just creating. So we're going to look at your options and talk about the pros and the cons of them. And then we're going to dive into what can AI really do on a tactical level to help you succeed. Because there's a few key areas where I found AI to be very helpful in the small businesses that I've mentored. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask those at the end. I'll get through as many of them as I have time for, and I always enjoy questions on this topic of AI. People ask a wide variety of very thought-provoking and interesting questions on this topic. So I encourage you all to feel free to ask your questions at the end. So with that, let's jump right into it. To start with, I want to define some terms here because we're going to be talking about some technical terms, and you've probably heard of these before, but you might not have a good understanding of what they mean. So before we go further, I want to talk about what is GPT, and this is the end of ChatGPT. Well, GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, and what this is a family of language models created to use with AI. They were actually created in the year 2018 by the company OpenAI, which is the company behind ChatGPT. And essentially what you need to know is GPT is a type of what we call a deep learning language model, which generates human-like responses to your questions. Initially, they started just by being text responses. Now you can create images, so image responses. You can create videos, and more is coming with this type of technology. Along with GPT, you're also going to hear the term LLM a lot. LLM stands for Large Language Model. And ChatGPT, in addition to being a GPT technology, is also an LLM, as are all of the competitors that we're going to look at here in a moment. So an LLM is a type of artificial intelligence program that analyzes and understands text you input, very similar to how a human would understand you. So you don't need to type in certain queries in a certain format. You don't have to interact with a computer like you're talking to a computer. You can interact with a computer like you're talking to a person. And the way this is achieved is that these LLMs are trained on massive amounts of data. OpenAI pioneered this, and what they did is they scraped all the text on the entire internet, if you can believe that. They spent years It's collecting every website, every blog post, everything they could get their hands on, which was pretty much everything on the internet. And they trained their ChatGPT based on this. Now, of course, they were the pioneer here, but there are, of course, with any competitive technology, there are other players. So first off, here at the top, there's OpenAI and their ChatGPT. It's the first mini stink. I think it's still the best. And I'm going to show you extensively how to use ChatGPT today because I find that it's also overall the best option for many business use cases. Now, Microsoft also has an AI program that is integrated into Windows now. It's integrated into their search. That's built on ChatGPT. So I'm not going to talk about Microsoft's AI separately because it really has the same foundation as ChatGPT because Microsoft was an early partner and investor in OpenAI. So they're really quite closely linked together. But Google, of course, being the tech titan that it has been for over a decade, wanted to also get in on this AI action. And so they launched what they're now calling their Gemini AI model. Google Gemini is a very capable LLM, as are these other four. And its real strength is that it integrates very nicely with Gmail and Google Docs and everything else in that Google ecosystem. So, for example, if you want to have Google Gemini summarize some emails you get or even reply, create answers in your own tone and voice, it can do that. If you want to query your entire Google Drive worth of business files to ask certain questions of a very specific sort, Gemini can search through all of your files in Google Drive and answer that as an AI would with a very quick and responsive and intuitive type of manner. And Gemini, it has the best integration with the Google ecosystem. And so for that, it really stands out. If you're using Google, like many of us do, this is the only one that has that deep level of integration. Next is Anthropic, and their AI is called Claude. And Anthropic is a direct competitor to these others. They built their AI from scratch, and we're going to be comparing Anthropic's answers to ChatGPT's answers to a series of questions related to how they can help your business. And I'm going to let you decide which answers you like better, which one provides the most concise details and the most relevant facts. And lastly, we have Perplexity AI. This is a very popular AI, and it has not built its own LLM like the other three have. It actually uses a combination of Claude and ChatGPT, which we'll see. So these are the big four players in the AI space. They're pretty much your primary options if you're looking for an AI to help you with your business. There are, of course, others that are a little smaller, a little more niche, and we're not really going to talk about those in detail today. But if you have questions, feel free to ask at the end, and I might be able to provide some additional information around those smaller services. So I find this a very interesting slide. This graphic here on the right shows a visualization of how any LLM starts to interpret your question and answer it. So there's a series of dots and bubbles, and you don't really need to worry about that, but each one is kind of a data point in its cloud of knowledge. And you can see here, these researchers have grouped them, grouped in certain areas which we can understand. So when an LLM tries to answer your question, they're thinking through several key concepts as humans would. So first off, like at the bottom, what are the paradoxes or debates around this and the answer it should provide? What are conflicting interests or conflicting viewpoints to consider? How do you balance the trade-offs in providing an answer to the human question? And what are conflicting allegiances and identities? And there's many more. So it scans through all of these very complex and deep topics within a second or less and starts to generate your answer. So this is how LLMs work. They're not just regurgitating memorized might have more foresight than is originally assumed by a lot of users. They don't always just predict one word after another to form a coherent answer. So they really do take into account all these different elements, and I thought this was a very interesting look on how LLMs work. Of course, the goal of today's presentation is not to dive too deeply into this. This is very scientific, but I thought it was worth mentioning. I want to give a quick rundown and comparison of these top four AI models before we go any further, so you can see some of the pricing, some of the pros and cons of each to help you make a decision of which model might be best for you to use. First off, we have ChatGPT, which has a free tier. You can use it without even making an account, or pay $20 a month to unlock their latest model and the latest features. I find that a very handy thing to do, and I recommend most businesses will pay the $20 a month fee to have access to a broader package of services. Claude also has a free tier and $20 a month. Perplexity AI has this exact same price model. In fact, they all do, and ChatGPT really did set the trend here, and the others just copied it. ChatGPT's version is on 4.0, they call it, and the O is not the number zero, it's actually the letter O. It stands for Omni. And what that means is that if you have a question in English, it can respond in an image by generating you an image. It's omnidimensional. That's kind of a marketing term, but 4.0 is what they have now. They say in their blog posts and news releases their version 5 will come probably in 2025. Some people think they might be delaying it on purpose, even though it's done. So we'll see version 5 at some point from them. It's supposed to have a lot more advances and be very exciting, but honestly, 4.0, which has been available for over 6 months, is also extremely good in generating your type of business results that you want. Claude is on version 4.0 as well. Perplexity, like I mentioned, has not created their own LLM, but they use ChatGPT 4.0 and Claude, the latest Claude, or just the second version of Claude 3.5 from Anthropic. So they just piggyback on one of those two services to generate their answers. And Google Gemini is on version 2.5. That is advancing very rapidly. It was on version 1 just 3 or 4 months ago. So some of the pros of ChatGPT, it is very simple to use. It gives you excellent multi-model results. So this is where the O comes in for Omni, also called multimodal. So it can generate text, images, and even video for you in the same chat window. It's great for general business use cases, I find. Some of the cons of ChatGPT is it's prone to giving some factual inaccuracies. So it might find information or actually make up information that it thinks is accurate, but it's an inaccurate fact. So for this reason, and by the way, these all can do that, but for this reason, if you're presenting data or facts, and this is going to be used for a business situation, it's very important to get these right. I would double check the facts that it gives you. And if you use the free version, it has some usage limitations, like how many messages you can send in 24 hours and things like that. With Cloud, it's really good at giving you natural and context-rich responses. So if you're looking for maybe more research heavy, maybe marketing research or competitive research, it can be great by giving deep and nuanced information and having nuanced and deep conversations about your questions. It has the flexibility to be a bit more customized, but this can often require you to spend more time kind of tweaking it and developing it to some extent the way you would like. So it's not quite as simple as ChatGPT. It also currently lacks these multimodal capabilities. So it's not going to be able to generate images and videos and text right along with you as easily as ChatGPT. Perplexity AI's pros are that it's really a streamlined interface for searching and fact finding. It's maybe not so good at writing full-length blog posts or coming up with website text like these others. It's better for more quick questions and answers, I find. It can be great for information retrieval because, again, it uses both ChatGPT and Claude to generate answers, and it can use a combination of both and give you the answer it finds the most relevant to you. It has more limited customizations for businesses, and I would call poor creative content generation. So creative content would be a blog post on a topic for your business, or maybe writing some social media posts on Facebook, or other types of creative content, which is a big use case for AI. This is really more streamlined for answering questions and getting certain facts. And lastly, Google Gemini, as mentioned, it integrates very nicely with Google's ecosystem. So that's its biggest pro, I feel. It's a scalable infrastructure for business users. And Google's really aiming this at larger businesses that have 50 or 100 employees or more. And for a small business, you can certainly use it. It performs moderately well, kind of above average, but for a lot of things, it's not as good as ChatGPT, I find. And also its pricing model, well, where it does have a $20 per month, it's quite restrictive even there. They really are trying to push this for larger businesses that have more money to spend per month. So after comparing these four, hopefully now you have an idea in your mind of which platform would be the best for you to use for your business. But how intelligent are these AI models? Well, this is some research done with ChatGPT's version 4.0, which came out just before what they call 4.0, the letter O. And if you're confused by their naming, you're not alone. They have really poor naming here. I mean, why would they name one 4.0 and the next one 4.0, right? People just get very confused with that. But anyway, this is the version released around 6 or 8 months ago, the last time this comprehensive study was done. And you can see the big advances it made over version 3.5, which was available last year or 18 months ago. Just by feeding it the verbal GRE questions, the actual questions, it's able to score in the 99th percentile with its answers. So again, understanding human language and responding in an intelligent way is better than 99% of test takers. Also in the SAT, the law, the LSAT, biology placement test, as you can see, it's very, very high, 80th percentile or above. And this is only getting better. So when we see version 5 come out, of course, all these scores will be even higher. Some people think they're going to be scaringly high in the sense that no human mind will be able to compete with the quality of answers generated by AI. And so that might be where we're headed with AI as a technology. At the end of the presentation, I have a few slides about kind of these risks to AI because that is a question I get quite often. But here I just want to show you that, yes, the level of answers you're getting are very, very good. You know, if you had a team of grad students or MBA students working on your business, they would possibly not even have as good of results as using the AI model in a lot of tasks. So now that I've talked about the landscape, I want to talk about 5 specific areas where you can tactically use an AI model to help your business succeed. First is content generation. This is a really huge one. We're going to go deeply into this. I find it's a very widely used use case for AI. The second area we're going to look at is in doing market research. Third, I'm going to show how AI can help you generate new and fresh ideas for your business and your products. Fourth, I'm going to show how AI can be useful in data analysis and insights, whether it's financial data or sales data or any other kind of data your business has. And fifth, how can AI be used for prototyping and design? This can mean if you're designing a new website, it can be very useful. Maybe you're designing a mobile app, or maybe you actually want help prototyping a physical product or some sort of product you're going to sell and to help with that. So the first big use case for using AI like ChatGPT is in content generation. And here are 4 ways that I find it most useful for a business owner like yourself. First is in drafting content. I talk to a lot of businesses in Virginia who only use AI for drafting content, and it saves them a lot of time. Uh, a service like ChatGPT can help draft an initial version of your content, provide an outline, and if you just have a simple idea or a nugget that you wanted to expand upon, it can expand upon that by doing relevant research and putting together a very comprehensive and compelling piece of content, whether it's for your website, for social media, for some advertisement, or for some marketing purpose. Secondly, you can use an LLM like ChatGPT to copy your tone and your voice so it doesn't sound generic or robotic, but it sounds like you as the business owner have written it. The way this works is you can upload samples of your writing and just tell ChatGPT, here's a sample, copy my tone, copy my voice, be consistent as you write my content, mimic my style, and it will understand what you mean. It'll analyze your document and it'll output a document that really closely resembles this. It is quite amazing how uncanny it is in copying the writing style of somebody. And even beyond that, just as a little aside, is even able to copy someone's voice. And so, it's not something that these services want or encourage people to do, but if you upload samples of somebody's voice, like a famous person, you can have that an AI voice that sounds very, very similar, say anything you want. So there's a lot of interesting ways that this AI is being trained on text, on audio, and of course on video, it's doing the same thing now. But this helps you as a business owner align the content with your brand identity, and I think it's a very useful feature. Third is in content expansion. So again, if you have a very useful thing, if you have a short idea and you just want it to expand upon, you can say, to expand upon this, make it 1,000 words, add relevant details, examples, explanations. Maybe you can tell it to cite its sources and it will. Whatever you need it to do, just tell it and then it will generate that in the output. And lastly, one often overlooked way AI can help is in improving your business website, especially when it comes to your search engine optimization, also called SEO. ChatGPT can help you rewrite the text of your website pages, especially your homepage, to include more relevant keywords and phrases. Now we can do this by analyzing your top competitors, looking at their website texts, seeing how their SEO is working, and then giving you suggestions to optimize yours. It does a very good job at this, and I worked with marketing professionals who have done this as a career for 10 years or longer, and the quality of the suggestions that AI can give you in just a matter of seconds is really astounding. And, in a lot of cases, it's equivalent or better than what humans are generating in the past. So very, very cool feature is to help it improve your website SEO. And so these are 4 areas where AI can really help generate your content. Now, as I talk about using AI, one thing to keep in mind is you're going to be typing in questions. And here are some prompts that you can use if you want to get a little bit more creative in when formatting your questions. Now, as I said before, you don't really need to be very careful in how you format because an LLM is by nature trained on human language and it understands you pretty well. But there's a few things to point out here, and I find informative, persuasive, or anything else, you can just say, hey, I want the tone of this to be formal or casual, and it will give you that. Secondly, if you want the format to be in an essay or bullet points or outline, you can specify the type of format. The objective can be anything like informing, persuading, or even entertaining. And I don't think AI should be its value of entertainment shouldn't be ignored. I think it can, if anybody's seen a series of AI generated jokes, they can be pretty humorous to humans. And so AI can entertain very well by understanding all the famous entertainers in our past. And building that as part of your marketing strategy online can be very useful. So if you're looking to create a series of social media posts, they shouldn't all be informing, persuading, selling your product, but they should be a mix of also entertaining, probably depending on your industry. So this is also an objective you can state when you type in your question. Also, if there's any limitations, you can specify them. Word count, character count, anything like that. If you want to specify who your audience is, it can help the AI understand, again, the tone, the type of research, the type of writing that will appeal most to that audience. So this could be a gender, male or female, could be an age range, could be an ethnicity, anything you want. Could be a geographical area. You can specify as much information as you have, and it will tailor that even closer to meet those needs. And some people are going to want citations or actual quotes from expert sources, and you can say you would like those quotes or citations. Feel free to experiment with all 22 of these, but I find these that I highlighted to be the most useful in a day-to-day usage for small businesses to get the type of output that is most useful to them. So now I want to put 2 AIs head to head. We're going to test ChatGPT versus Claude Anthropic and we're going to ask them the same question, and we're going to see what their answers are. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste my prompt. Now, in this scenario, we're going to pretend we're the owner of the Purina pet food company. And we're going to ask the AI to write a blog post in 200 words or less. So we're specifying that constraint. And we want it to explain the benefits of the product to the target market. Again, keep in mind, we're not telling the AI what the product or the market is, so the AI has to figure that out. We want the tone to be informative, and the goal is to persuade prospective customers to choose my product over the competitors. So this is the challenge. So first we're going to hop over here to ChatGPT. And this is just your basic interface in ChatGPT. If you've ever seen it before, you'd be familiar with this. And so I'm just going to go ahead and paste that in, and we are going to let it answer. So here is a short blog post. It took about 5 or 6 seconds. It has a heading that says, "Why More Dog Owners Trust Purina, Nutrition Backed by Science and Love." So it's hitting on a few key emotional things that dog owners or pet owners are looking for. Nutrition is backed by science, and there's love. So again, right off the bat, I think it's hitting some key points and key selling points. It goes on to say, "At Purina, we know your dog isn't just a pet, they're family. That's why our nutrition is crafted with purpose. Each Purina recipe is developed by a team of over 500 veterinarians, pet nutritionalists, and scientists to deliver tailored, high-quality ingredients that support your dog's health from nose to tail." So it went out and found some facts. It found some facts where there's a team of 500 people involved in making Purina food products. That's a fact that you'd probably want to check if you're this business owner. Just double check any hard fact like that. It found that from some information on Purina's website or in some financial disclosure, but little details like that might have been gotten wrong. So I would double check the number. And at the end, it says your dog's health from nose to tail. So it's kind of hitting a casual tone with this, which is probably really good for this type of audience. It goes on to say whether it's healthy joints, a shiny coat, or robust immunity, Purina's science-backed formulas meet your dog's needs at every stage of life. So it's researched the key selling points or the key pain points pet owners have. Healthy joints, a shiny coat, and robust immunity. And now it's talking about those and talking directly to the target buyer's needs, wants, and feelings about their pet. Going down, the next paragraph says, trusted by millions of dog owners and recommended by vets nationwide, Purina offers a wide range of options for every breed, size, and dietary need. And at the end, it says, feed with confidence, feed Purina. So I think it's a very well-written blog post. Again, check a couple of facts, but it reaches out to that target market, has that emotional response that really does help to sell products. And overall, in 6 seconds, it's a great piece of marketing material. But let's go test Claude and put in the same prompt, and we are going to see what its output is. And I'll mention that I do the same prompts every time I give this presentation, which is a few times a year. The output is always different because the companies that I'm prompting, for like Purina, they're producing new products, they're producing new marketing material. So these answers are never static or generic. They're always dynamic and based on the most relevant facts on the internet. So over here on the right is the response from Anthropic's Claude. And it starts with a headline that says, "Why Purina is the right choice for your dog's health and happiness." It says, "When it comes to your dog's nutrition, quality matters. At Purina, we spent over 90 years perfecting pet nutrition science, making us the trusted choice for millions of pet parents worldwide." They've broken down their blog post into 4 subheadings. They have proven nutritional excellence, which says our formulas are developed by veterinarians and pet nutrition experts, ensuring every bite delivers complete and balanced nutrition. Unlike many competitors, we conduct extensive feeding trials and research at our state-of-the-art facilities, guaranteeing our food meets highest standards. All right. So they don't mention in here 500 scientists working on the food, and that's fine. But they do say we have extensive feeding trials, state-of-the-art facilities, etc. So you can decide if you prefer ChatGPT's paragraph, talking about the the process of creating it or this better, but I think they're both very good. The next paragraph is tailored solutions for every dog. This talks about whether you have a playful puppy, an active adult, or a senior companion, Purina offers specialized formulas designed for your dog's life stage and specific needs. And this is one thing I didn't notice in ChatGPT, but they're bringing in the life stages. So you can have a puppy, an active adult, or a senior companion. And this is good marketing because you might be a puppy owner or a senior dog owner, and this speaks directly to you. So I'm not going to finish reading the rest of this, but as you can see, each of these answers was generated very quickly. I think this one might have been 7 or 8 seconds. Very well written, well researched, and you're just able to go and use this wherever you would like. So that's a good example of how the marketing copy works. And this can be used for blog posts, social media posts, if you're looking to create text for some sort of an event, anything like that. So the second tactical area where I think ChatGPT and AIs can be very useful is doing market research. As we've already seen, they had to do some pretty quick and deep research on the last question to give us those answers. But here are some other ways you can use AI to specifically do really involved market research very, very quickly. The first one is in formulating questions. If you're looking to gather information about your target market, maybe you're launching a new product and you're trying to see what people are looking for, but you're not quite sure the questions you would need to ask to get the right answers or to get the right data, you can have ChatGPT help you generate the questions. And you can put those on surveys or forms or interviews, or if you happen to be doing something like a focus group, they can generate your questions for that. Secondly, is you can use ChatGPT for competitive analysis. So I compared it once to the intelligence of a MBA grad student, somebody fresh out of college with a master's degree in business administration. I do think that for the most part, ChatGPT gives answers that are probably superior to what most people would give as far as competitive analysis and that level of research, because it's very time consuming. And AI having access to, again, kind of all the world's data at its fingertips can just generate amazingly accurate results very quickly. It can help you learn about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of your business or towards your business of your major competitors. And you can compare your business in different areas that you're interested in. ChatGPT can analyze industry news and trends based on, web pages that were posted or updated just within the last few hours. So if you're trying to notice market shifts or changing in customer behavior at a very, very rapid rate, then you can do trend analysis with ChatGPT to discover those. Number 4 is data interpretation. So if you collect some data from surveys or you've done some interviews and you just have a lot of data to go through, whether it's a Word document, Excel spreadsheet, doesn't really matter. You can upload a document to ChatGPT and ask it some questions. You could say, well, provide some insights into some patterns you see. What are correlations? What are people saying? What are some potential opportunities you notice? Anything that you're looking to find. And instead of reading through, let's say, 100 pages of text yourself, you can kind of dive right to the answers you're looking for within a few seconds. So super, super handy, quick and accurate data interpretation. Of course, with this, you're interpreting your own data. So you're not really going out on the internet to doing research on from other sources. In this case, you're uploading your own data to do research from. And number 5 is consumer insights. You can use ChatGPT to analyze your consumer conversations. Well, maybe you have a lot of emails back and forth with consumers, and at the end of the month, you're thinking, well, how can I find some insights out of all these touch points or social media feedback or any other type of data you have about your consumers? ChatGPT can uncover sentiments and preferences and pain points and areas of future opportunity with the consumer data that you have for your business. So the next head-to-head challenge I want to put ChatGPT and Claude against each other with is a competitor analysis. And in this prompt, again, I'm going to be the owner of Purina, and I want to have a SWOT analysis done of my top competitors. And that stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I'm saying use bullet points and link to sources of information. So let's see how ChatGPT does with the prompt. So again, I'm just copying and pasting it in. Now you can see here, the first thing it's doing is searching the web. It uses its own judgment when it feels like the question deserves or needs information to be found on the internet. So it did a search, gathered data, and it's already started giving me the answer. So it says, here is a refined SWOT analysis of Purina's top competitors. They found Blue Buffalo, Hill's Pet Nutrition, and Royal Canin. And we'll look at the first one here, Blue Buffalo. So ChatGPT says the strengths of this brand is that it has a strong identity built on a natural and high quality ingredients with a premium positioning in the market. It says also that it's done some look into its financial statements, and it says it has robust financials and an R&D or research and development focus, which would probably mean that this company is investing a lot of their profits back into research and development. Weaknesses of the brand is that it has a premium pricing, which may limit appeal to budget-conscious buyers, and there's risk of brand dilution amid expanding product lines, probably as a result of their high R&D focus. Opportunities for us would be launching a new fresh pet food line under General Mills, targeting health-oriented consumers. And threats would be intense competition in a premium pet food segment and rising commodity costs, squeezing profit margins. And so if you're curious about anything that it finds here, we'll ask it a follow-up question. We'll just say, tell me more about the robust financials and R&D focus. Because, this might be something that I'm actually really interested with this competitor. All right, so it's found some information, and it says, here's a refined deep dive into Blue Buffalo's strengths and robust financials. So just a few bullet points here. In 2017, Blue Buffalo posted sales of 1.275 billion, 10.9% increase year over year. And so they've looked at probably what they've done is what AI has done is found Blue Buffalo's publicly available financial statements, either quarterly or year end, and synthesized and analyzed all this information based on the question we just asked. So it's very powerful and very, very quick. There's more information here about its focus on R&D and innovation. And I won't read this all right now, but I just want to show that in any of the situations where you're talking with an AI and interacting with it, you can ask deeper questions to dive deeper into information. And at the end here, it doesn't forget the point of our conversation, which is a competitive analysis. So it says why it matters for Purina. And it says Blue Buffalo's strong financial foundation, supported by General Mills scale and coupled with its purposeful R&D investment, offers a formidable competitor in the premium science-backed pet nutrition. To maintain an advantage, Purina should leverage its own lab investments, reinforce scientific communication with pet parents, and expand targeted innovation in high-growth, fresh, and therapeutic segments, which is interesting. It linked to a news article here, and you can have it linked to other some sources of its information if you would like. So, a very interesting competitive analysis. Let's go ahead and ask Claude. Let's take the same prompt, and we're going to ask Claude to also do the SWOT analysis for us. So also it started to search the web. It said it's found 10 results, and it's looking at the data from those. And it's writing its answer right now. Okay, so here is its answer, and I'll just cover the top part. It says, based on my research, here's a SWOT analysis of your top competitors as the owner of Purina. First, it found Mars Pet Care with 29% market share. It says the strengths is that it has a strong brand portfolio, including the Pedigree, Whiskas, and Royal Canin, significant global presence and distribution, growing business, 69%, approximately 55 billion in annual sales, and a strong sustainability commitments and environmental initiatives, which can be very important with certain buying segments. Weaknesses is that it has a second place market position behind Purina. Higher price points may limit mass market appeal, and it's less focused on research-driven nutrition messaging. So some opportunities for us: premium and specialized nutrition segment growth, international expansion in emerging markets, and e-commerce and direct-to-consumer sales. And threats: intense competition from Purina's market leadership. Rising ingredient costs can impact already small margins, and a consumer shift towards fresh and natural alternatives. So that was the first competitor. It also found Hill's Pet Nutrition with 6% market share, General Mills Pet with 3%, and under General Mills is the Blue Buffalo brand ChatGPT found. So just as an example, I think they both give a pretty quick and good look at the competitive analysis. And with either of these, you can dive deeper into this question. So hopefully that gives you some level of insight into the capabilities of the research for these AI models. Now let's go on to look at the next area where AI can help, which is in idea generation, something we haven't really talked about before. First, it can be very useful in helping you brainstorm. If you're looking to develop a new product or a new service you want to sell, it can be a great brainstorming partner, offer you a stream of ideas, and you can just chat with it back and forth, ask it to do research. It can also refine your ideas and prompt you with questions you might not have thought of to really get to the right type of product. If you provide ChatGPT with an area of in a certain industry type or segment you're interested in going into, it can help give you some creative ideas of products that you can sell. It can combine concepts, which is very good at. So you might have an idea of a certain type of product that kind of combines two different industries together, but you're not quite sure how to go about doing that. ChatGPT can be very good at finding synergies between different ideas that might not have been thought of before by a person creating this type of product or service, and it can suggest those to you and give you some new ideas. And with number 4, problem solving, it can be very good if you're having a problem or a challenge when coming up with a new product idea. Go ahead and tell the AI kind of where you're at, what your challenges are, what you don't know. It can provide really innovative solutions and sometimes strategies to overcome the obstacles and create the product that you're needing to create or that you want to go into. So here with our third and final head-to-head comparison, we're going to have ChatGPT and Claude help us with some brainstorming. The prompt here is, help me brainstorm new types of pet food I can develop that will sell well in the market. Keep it to under 150 words and use paragraphs. So let's see how ChatGPT does. So it's looking into the different options for us to expand into new products. And it says, to stand out in the evolving pet foods market, considering launching a fresh, frozen meal line using human-grade, limited ingredients, perfect for pet parents seeking a clean label, farm-to-bowl nutrition. And you know how I said that every time I run these prompts several times a year, I get different answers. I've definitely never seen a farm to bowl suggestion before. It's very interesting, but it is a trend I've noticed in human foods is a more locally sourced, non-preservative, few ingredients type of approach. So ChatGPT is accurately looking at latest trends in human and pet food nutrition here. It says expand into gut health focused kibble infused with prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics aligned with growing microbiome awareness. Also a trend support for labs or skincare for bulldogs. So that's a really interesting idea, having certain breed-specific nutrition that helps them the most. The next paragraph says, capitalize on sustainability by developing insect protein treats, eco-friendly, nutrient dense, introduced freeze-dried meal topper that breaks into pieces for enhanced taste. So it was very interesting suggestions here. Of course, with your industry and your business, you'll be getting very tailored and specific suggestions for your product line, but I think you can see that it's quite good at just generating new product ideas that it thinks probably quite accurately will sell very well to your target market. So let's go over here and test Claude and see what kind of recommendations it can give. Okay, so it says here are some promising pet food innovations that could capture market share. First one is functional health foods represent a major opportunity. Consider developing targeted formulas for specific health concerns like joints, cognitive functions, or digestive health. Pet owners increasingly view food as preventative medicine, making them willing to pay premium prices for products that address their dog's specific needs. I do think that is a pretty accurate statement there as far as the trends that pet owners are looking at. Next is sustainable and alternative proteins. So again, it also has a suggestion of possible insect-based proteins like ChatGPT. It's a very interesting one. It's something I've seen the AI give a couple times before, the insect-based lines of food. Next paragraph is customizable nutrition solutions could revolutionize the market and develop a subscription-based, personalized nutrition plan based on an individual dog's breed, age, activity level, and health markers. This creates recurring revenue while building deeper customer relationships. I think the subscription model is really taking off for a lot of different businesses, even those delivering food, meals for humans. So this could very well work for a pet food market as well. And again, it has a recommendation for fresh frozen convenience, bridging the gap between raw feeding and traditional kibble, which is obviously has dried and kind of has a lot of preservatives. So two good brainstorming sessions with the AI. I think that when you do this with your own business, even with a very short prompt, a short, question, you can get some really relevant and targeted answers that can really help, you brainstorm and think of new ideas for your business. The next category where AI is very useful is with data analysis and insights. Now, we've already seen that it's quite amazing at synthesizing data on the internet. And what are the key ways where you can use its ability here? Well, the first one is with hypothesis testing. So let's just say you have a business question or theory and you need to see if it's going to work. You need to test your hypothesis. Well, just go ahead and start talking to ChatGPT about it and ask it to, design an appropriate test to validate or refute your hypothesis for your business or your product idea. And it will be your partner in going down that path with you and helping you make the best decision. Number two is with predictive analysis. This is very useful if you have some historical data. It could be about your business or your industry. So let's say you're maybe in the real estate industry and you have 10 years worth of home sale data for a zip code, right? That's just a good data set you can work with. Using that and maybe doing its own research, ChatGPT can build some predictive models to forecast future trends and outcomes based on patterns it identifies in the data that you provide. And also, if you don't have the data on hand, you can usually say, hey, ChatGPT, go find me 10 years of home sale data for this zip code. Depending on the question, sometimes it can find it, like if it's publicly available, if it's, behind a paywall of some sort, and it's not public access, it might not have certain types of data. But, if you have access to the data, you can upload that to it and then run an analysis. Number three is segmentation analysis. This is really useful if you want to divide up your buyers into different customer segments and then suggest ways to market to them in different terms and language that helps to sell to your specific market. ChatGPT can help you understand who these market segments are, what are their behaviors and their preferences when buying products, and then it can help tailor your market message directly to your different segments. Number four is identifying opportunities. Describe your business goal and some challenges, and ChatGPT can analyze available data, whether you provide it or it finds it itself, and it can suggest opportunities for growth or improvement for your business or a certain portion of your business that you're focused on. And number five is feedback analysis. If you have any kind of feedback from your customers, you can use ChatGPT to identify common themes and gain really interesting insights into customer thought patterns, their satisfactions, or their pain points. And you don't have to do this just on your products or services, but if you have, let's say you go to a competitor's website or their reviews on Yelp or Google or their social media pages, and you just take a lot of the feedback there, you could ask ChatGPT, how is this competitor doing, right? What are customers unhappy with them about? And then you can use that to your advantage. And the last category where AI can be very helpful for small businesses is in prototyping and design. So 6 areas here where this can be useful. The first one is in concept visualization. So if you have an initial concept of a website, say, that you want to develop, I know a lot of businesses are redeveloping or redesigning their websites. And so you might have some ideas, but you're not sure about getting a complete vision based on a few ideas. Well, this is where ChatGPT can come in and it can create a visual, like a text-based layout, bullet points, or it can even give you full website mock-ups of images based on your ideas and your industry and then synthesizing data of what it thinks will work best. Number two is ChatGPT can create wireframes or mock-ups. And this can be if you're developing, again, a website or a mobile app. As you might know, generating wireframes and mockups is a first step in kind of getting that designed. And so ChatGPT can make those wireframes and mockups for you very, very well. Number three are user flows. And so this is very relevant if you have an online experience, maybe you're an e-commerce website and there's a flow around your site. And it's important to get that right so people don't abandon their shopping carts or that they buy more products as a kind of a spur of the moment type purchase, right? There's a lot of ways you can optimize user flows. So if you describe a website or just give ChatGPT the URL and explore the user flows with it, it can give you ideas of how to restructure certain pages or add links to certain areas to optimize the user flow and at the end of the day, increase your online revenue. Number four is with user interface or user experience designs. So this goes along with number one, I think. If you explain how you want the user experience to work, ChatGPT can give you the detailed design ideas and kind of blueprints and can help you enhance the usability and the aesthetics of a website or a mobile app for your business. Number five are feature suggestions. If you're looking to expand your online presence, maybe you want your website to have a couple new features that aren't currently there because you think this will help sell more products, ChatGPT can brainstorm with you adding new features to your website, what features would be the best to add to your website that are currently lacking, and it'll do this by analyzing both your website and your competitors' websites and generating some really relevant results for you on features that you could add to your website to boost your online sales. And lastly, number six are the product descriptions. If you're selling your products online with an e-commerce store, and maybe you even are selling them on a third-party site like Amazon, Etsy, or eBay, you probably know having good product descriptions are a real key to selling your products online. And if you wrote those descriptions a couple of years ago, probably it was just done manually, the good old-fashioned way, and that's all pretty a solid start, but it's always useful, I think, to have an AI take a look and see if it can rewrite your product descriptions just to make them more compelling, to make them more relevant, maybe more succinct and shorter. And it can also, and it will, by itself do research on your competitors' product descriptions and really come up with some recommendations and just actually completely rewrite them for you if you would like it to. So there's 6 key ways that AI can help you with your website and online presence, kind of prototyping and designing. head to head with. We start with a prompt. And as I said, there are some prompt kind of keywords you can use, and I introduced those a few slides ago. But here are 4 strategies you can use to get the best results when writing your prompts. These are just kind of overall guidelines. Number 1 is to write clear instructions. And so you want to include details in your prompt to get more relevant answers. So essentially, the more information you give ChatGPT or an AI, the more it knows about you and the more it knows how to tailor its responses to you. If you want to provide examples of what you're looking for, maybe it's a certain format or a layout or a certain type of content, you can provide that and say, this is an example of what I'm looking for. So write clear instructions. Number 2 is to provide reference text. You can instruct ChatGPT to answer a question using the tone or the style of a piece of reference text in almost any format. Or you can instruct ChatGPT to answer using citations from its own sources, which can be very useful. Number 3 is give ChatGPT time to think. So about a year ago, an interesting study was done that showed that if you, in your prompt, said, ChatGPT, take your time, think through this very carefully, don't rush, things like that, that it actually made the AI take more time, think more carefully, and not rush, which, it actually worked. And it took a few more seconds, but it provided somewhat, and in most cases, some better quality answers. So you can try this on your own. If you feel like it's just kind of skimming the surface and you're kind of thinking it's not getting quite to what I'm looking for, tell it, take your time, go back and ask it if it missed anything. So you could just say, hey, did you miss anything? And it'll think through what it might have missed, and then it'll go ahead and answer those missing questions itself if it found any. And number 4 is you should split up complex tasks. So one common mistake I see people making is asking ChatGPT a series of questions in one prompt, which would require it to not just answer one question at a time. As you saw in my 3 examples, it was mainly one question I was asking, and sometimes I provided a bit more detail. But I didn't lump all 3 of those together. And the reason is because ChatGPT kind of has a time limit to think and respond to you. If you ask it a lot of questions at once, it does kind of have to rush and hurry. No matter how much you tell it to take its time, it will inevitably have to give you a quicker result. So think about asking it just one question at a time. Break up larger tasks into several smaller questions, and you'll generally get better results. So we've covered a lot about the text prompts and how to get text answers. Well, as you probably know, AI is also really great at creating images. Here are a few sample images that the ChatGPT image creator generated. You can see there's everything from kind of humorous fantasy Gandalf in the upper left corner, to abstract art, to photorealistic looking flowers, people's faces. You can even have it create images of a magazine cover. And at the bottom here are some examples of perhaps some product images, right? So if you're looking to have images of product, or especially useful when you're brainstorming, maybe you want to create a new product line. This can create images that can spur your ideas, or you can use these for marketing purposes. As you can see, it can be anything from photorealistic to abstract to humorous, and pretty much the sky's the limit for the types of images you can create. Of course, there are filters around anything with violence or nudity, so you won't get anything like that out of ChatGPT, but everything you get is suitable for using, and legally you're able to use for marketing purposes for your business. At least as the current laws stand, they state that if you enter a prompt that generates an image, you are the owner of that image, as if you created it yourself, and therefore you're able to go use it. And that is hotly debated, and it will probably continue to be debated, the copyright issues around AI content generation. But for now, that's the current landscape, and that's currently what business owners can do. They can use the images, but it's something to keep your eye on. If the laws change, I'm sure we will all hear about it, and the companies will have to put some more strict regulations on what types of images they can generate. But here's an example of an image I generated quickly using a chat GPT. And I'll show you just how easy it is to generate an image. And say you don't get quite the perfect image, you can modify it easily. So on the left here, I said create an image, a stressed small business owner trying to understand technology. I didn't specify anything else, but it gave a real photorealistic image. It's got impressive level of detail all around. It's a small business owner, possibly in their house or their place of business. The background is blurry. There's a depth of focus on the man's face. And so this looks like a professional photography setup. This is what a professional photographer would do. And what's really cool about AI is, let's say, oh, you forgot a detail or you think something can make it better. I just, as a follow-up, said, add a flyer to the table that says SBDC can help, and it creates the flyer, right? It's pretty amazing that it can understand the nuances without me telling it a lot and go out and just do that and make that. So it's very easy to create images. Of course, there is a lot of conversation about overusing AI images for your business online. I think that certain businesses can use more AI images. Others maybe would feel like it's more awkward to use depending on their customers. So it's just something you have to feel out with your customer base and see. Probably overusing AI images is not going to be helpful, but at some level, I think AI images can be very useful and very quickly expand your level of visual activity online, which is very important on platforms like Instagram and Facebook, where posting an image or two every day can be expected for certain types of industries. So I want to talk a little bit about the impact of AI and just how quickly it's expanded. This is a really interesting chart which shows the time it took major businesses to reach 1 million users. You see Netflix, which launched in 1999, took 3.5 years to reach a million. Airbnb in 2008 took 2.5 years. Facebook took 13 months. And ChatGPT, which was officially released to the public in 2022, took just 5 days. And the ChatGPT app, at least last time I checked, was the number one downloaded app on the Apple's iOS store and the Android store. So very impressive growth. It just goes to show how many people are using this, not just for business purposes, but for many other things. So it is a very, very quick growing technology, and I'm sure we're going to see it continue to expand. But how exactly will it expand? This is a summary of a blog post written by the Open AI founder, Sam Altman. In his experience, with his perspective running the largest AI company in the world, this is where he sees AI going. He sees it in 5 stages. We're in stage 1 right now, which is chatbot chatting like a human. And we see this all the time on business websites now, where the chatbot is an AI. And it also, at this level, you can also write social media content, create images and videos. So that's where we're at now. But Sam sees 4 more stages. Stage 2 is a reasoning AI. And this AI is able to perform basic problem-solving tasks comparable to a human with a doctorate level education. Based on what I've read, I think that version 5 of ChatGPT, the one that's supposed to come out this year, and it might or might not, is this level. It is kind of the human with a doctorate level education in every discipline, and that is the chatbot. So it holds the possibility and opportunity for everyone in business to streamline tasks and get really advanced and accurate information. Stage 3, Sam believes, is autonomous AI. And these are AI systems like ChatGPT that operate completely autonomously on your behalf and on behalf of your business for several days. Rarely do they break, and if they do, if some website goes down they're relying on, or something on the internet crashes, they can go and fix it themselves without human involvement. Sounds pretty amazing. I'm not sure when we would see that, but possibly in 2 or 3 years. Stage 4 is innovating AI, according to Sam Altman. This stage develops innovations to itself independently of humans. It's not just running your business processes, but it is improving them on its own. It's capable of thinking about how to do a better job and achieve a goal you gave it in a more effective or efficient way than you would have told it to. And stage number five is organizational AI. And in this stage, you have AIs like ChatGPT, which all take on a different task of an organization and work together, completely separate from people, carrying out every function a human would carry out in a company, making improvements and running everything. So sounds very interesting, very frightening, I suppose, for a lot of people. And there's a lot of debate around this, right? Is it ethical? What's going to happen with the unemployment and all of that? But we do see advances in AI moving around this circle. We're now between one and two, and we're moving in the direction. Sam Altman believes number five is kind of the end goal. As I mentioned, Microsoft and Sam Altman work closely together. Microsoft's a key partner with OpenAI and a big shareholder. Microsoft also has a bit of a vision for AI, and I thought it was useful to put here. Microsoft's own research shows that about 70% of workers at frontier firms, which are organizations that are using AI to the fullest extent they can today, and these frontier firms say that their company is thriving compared to 37% that are not using AI. So Microsoft's research shows AI helps, and this is how they see it working. So in phase one, we have human plus AI, and that's essentially where we are right now. Every employee has an AI assistant that helps them work better and faster. These are the examples I gave. You're using an AI and it's helping answer your questions, write some content, and make some images. Phase two, according to Microsoft, will be human agent teams. And in this scenario, agents, which are like ChatGPT, they kind of form a team and like a team of digital colleagues, and they take on specific tasks based on your direction. So more than just generating content, can be posting content, can be responding to users, can be generating new ideas, or many, many other business tasks as a kind of a group of AI works alongside you. And phase three is a human-led, but really an agent-operated business. So the human sets the direction, and then the ChatGPT agents execute everything from the business workflows and processes and checking in and checks and balances and everything as needed. So very interesting kind of perspective from Microsoft. I think it is similar to Sam Altman's view of where AI is headed. And, we'll see what the future holds, but it's certainly, like I said, headed in this direction with the research and the advancements that are being made every year. So there have also been some very large studies by international groups about the impact of AI on the global economy and on society. And I found that this was an interesting study done by the International Monetary Fund. And they show that, or they predict that AI will impact about 40% of jobs worldwide, which could and will exacerbate inequality and social tensions. And interestingly, they show that this will have different impacts depending on how advanced the economy is. So if you look at the second bar chart here, an advanced economy, Europe and the United States, it shows that we have a high exposure to AI, whereas in emerging markets, they have much lower exposure to the risks of AI. And so this is mainly due to, again, those tech jobs being overtaken by AI agents. And in developing countries and emerging markets, there's fewer of those types of jobs. So depending on the type of country you're living in, your impact of the effects of AI could be different according to this report. So one thing that I get asked quite a bit are what are the risks of using AI, above and beyond what we just talked about to the global economy, but just for you and your business. So here's four key factors that I think are good to understand and be aware of as risks. First one is getting facts wrong. I already mentioned and gave some examples of, the 500-person scientist team. Double check facts, especially numbers. They're easy for somebody to notice if it's wrong, and you don't want to be called out and found using some incorrect data that you could have easily corrected. Second, allowing AI to log into social media or finance accounts and be updating and posting for you. Some have integrations that allow you to do this, but it seems like it's quite risky now. As you saw, Sam Altman thinks this is kind of the future of AI, allowing it to be more autonomous, but at this point, there's still a lot of risks involved with that. So I wouldn't encourage you to allow it to have logins like that to any of your accounts. Number three is a free tier of any of these AI services can be down or just slow at times, and so slow that it's not useful. If you pay, you generally have a better experience, but even then, you can find ChatGPT is down for a couple of hours or a day. This has happened several times in the last year. So if it's critical you get something done in the next hour and you need AI's help, I just wouldn't always count on it being there. You try to plan on it maybe being down, and so factor in some buffer time. And lastly is leaking of business secrets or intellectual property. This was more of an issue in the early days, 2022 and 2023, when ChatGPT came out and people found that their questions they had asked were being used to essentially train ChatGPT on interactions and answering questions, and it became part of its knowledge base, which meant it could be then regurgitated as part of information given to some other user. And it was some Microsoft employees and maybe from other companies as well that were using it and disclosed some company secrets or intellectual property and then literally released that to the world because they used AI. Now, this is less of an issue now because ChatGPT claims that they have isolated your chat data from any others and that can't be, shared. Whether or not you 100% believe that is up to you. I think that there's still the risk of something like that leaking out. So I don't recommend you would share anything really proprietary with AI at this point, unless you're comfortable if it maybe got out into the public. But I also asked ChatGPT what it thinks the risks of using AI like it is in a business situation. It said number one is bias, that AI algorithms can be biased, reflecting the biases of data they're trained on, which could lead to discriminatory outcomes and could harm a business's reputation. Number two is a lack of human touch. It said AI can reduce the human touch customers may be looking for, and this can create a sense of distance, which can harm the business relationship. So again, overusing AI or letting it sound too generic is a risk here. But if you prompt it appropriately and customize it appropriately, you can make it feel like a human. Number three is over-reliance. Using ChatGPT for marketing, copy, or text may lead to relying on it too much, which over time could reduce the creativity and innovation of human writers. And number four is limited context. So in my questions, I just told it I was a Purina dog food company. It was a very limited context, and I think it did very well in answering questions. But in some scenarios, too limited of a context could mean it gives you answers without having the broad understanding of your business or your marketing strategy. So the results it gives you, they might not be tailored completely appropriately to you. So again, being specific with your prompts and using some of those prompt guide suggestions that I gave will help you give the right amount of context to get the answers that are most useful. I just want to end with a little bit of discussion on some of the organizations globally and here in the US that are looking at AI and its risks to society, since this is a question I often get as a follow-up. The Future of Life Institute had an open letter that was signed by a lot of famous people, including Elon Musk and Steve Wozniak, and they called on AI companies and governments to halt development of new AIs for around 6 months. So essentially, there could be policies, written to understand the implications to society. Even though it was a big thing, nobody paused. Grok on his X platform. So some people thought he just was encouraging the delay in his competitors so he could launch his own quicker. But in any case, the Future of Life Institute is committed to understanding risks associated with AI and how to formulate policy both locally and globally, to address the risks. Also, in November of 2023, the UK government came out with their understanding or declaration of AI use. They called it the Bletchley Declaration, and it cites catastrophic AI harms among warnings. And so you can read more about that here and kind of what the UK government is doing in terms of AI. And lastly, a new article that came out a few months ago talks about in the age of AI, we must protect human creativity as a natural resource. I find very interesting because essentially, if you consider AI as being trained on all the human creativity throughout time, both the writing, the artwork, everything that's available online, even from people in the past, that AI is kind of, if it takes over creativity from people, will we be creative anymore? And the article talks about that and dives into those implications. So wherever you sit on the spectrum of AI being a risk, it's informational and I think interesting to learn about some of these initiatives happening. And with that, that's the end of the presentation. Hopefully it was interesting and informative to you, and I'd be happy to take your questions now as much as we can get through in the time we have remaining. Thank you.
Thanks, Cameron. We have a couple questions that have dropped into the Q&A box. And again, you might have covered them throughout the session, but I'm going to go ahead and read them because if anything, it's good to reiterate, I think. So the first question was, I found that ChatGPT tell is the overuse of M dashes. I have to tell ChatGPT every time I submit a prompt. How do I get ChatGPT to remember this as part of my voice tone in prompts?
So there is a new section of ChatGPT that I think they're calling personal information, or it's a little dialog box where you can type in kind of permanent information you want it to adhere to every time it interacts with you. And you can get to that in the settings. And again, they just put that in about 6 months ago, I think. So that's probably where you want to go. You can put in, if you want a specific type of text output every time, and you don't want to have to remind it every time you start a new chat, you can put it in there. You can just say, always use this type of formatting. Always use this tone, always refer to me as so and so, or whatever perspective you want it to have. And that setting there will be persistent across every chat. So I think that's the best place to go and to put that instruction in there of how you want it to behave, and then it should be applied across every chat you create under that account.
Great. Let's see. What about data protection? Is ChatGPT and other AI tools, are they secure to use since we will be sharing data while asking questions?
That's a great question. And I did mention that I wouldn't link it to bank accounts or anything. I think that's very risky now. Um, but as far as the data and the questions you ask it, is it secure? I would say only about as secure as every other online platform. And, several times a year, some major company or bank gets hacked. There's nothing to say that ChatGPT and OpenAI couldn't be hacked. And even private or secure data might be released. So that's just an issue with any online platform. But I did read recently that while ChatGPT was trying to create a policy that said after 30 days, all chat history was deleted, completely deleted. So kind of like older chat history and personal information would be wiped clean. A judge ruled that they had to keep it permanently so they could prove they weren't infringing on copyright. So it's an interesting legal battle right now. So currently, I believe ChatGPT and OpenAI has to keep a permanent record of everything stored forever throughout all time, which isn't great for privacy, but it could be great for people who are trying to prove that they're infringing on copyright. So that's the latest, but it's evolving every couple of months, right? But at this point, I would say you can definitely share, mildly sensitive or private data. I wouldn't worry too much. It's if anybody found the data, well, how much harm could it cause your business, right? That's the question you have to ask. In most cases, I think that risk is similar to any other place you store that data, even if it's stored in the cloud with Microsoft or Google, it could be hacked. So that'd be my answer. I think you should use it without too much fear, but just be aware of it's an evolving type of legal question as well about the permanence of that data. And so we don't really know how that's all going to shape out.
Let's see, does ChatGPT free tier create AI images?
That's a great question. I am not 100% sure right now. When they released the AI image creation, it was only for paid users, and it might still be that way. But the way they work is generally they'll release a feature like AI images or now even videos, but they only give it first to the paid group, and then usually 3 or 6 months later it can come to the free group. So I haven't really double checked the free tier images in the last couple months. So I'd say just go ahead and go to chatgpt.com and see if you can create an image. You can just start by saying create an image of something. And either it'll start creating it or it'll say, I can't do that unless you're on the paid plan.
Okay, so this is a two-part question. I'll start with the first part. When working with images, how can you prompt it to change just one specific element without altering anything else? For example, in your demo, the image of the guy changed slightly overall, even though you were only trying to add one feature. Is there a way to isolate just one change? Yeah, I think
Yeah.
yeah, I noticed
Yeah,
that.
that's a great question. No, there's not. And so not with OpenAI's ChatGPT image generation. Now, those other alternatives I mentioned can generate images too. And there's even other more niche AI image generators that only do images. And one of those might be what you're looking for. In those, what I've seen is you can highlight a certain area of the image and say, insert this here. And it won't go and change other elements like the guy's face or the subtle lighting or the number of jars on the shelves. OpenAI, you can't really do that because again, it's not solely an image generator. It's kind of an all-around AI platform. So you can still get minor modifications. Even in his laptop, the image on the left has 3 ports, the image on the right has 2 ports, little things like that. So if that bothers you or that won't work for you, then I would look into some of the alternative dedicated image AI generators. And usually for those platforms, you'll have to pay a monthly fee to become a member of, but they do give you that option I've seen of just picking a part of the image and saying either remove something from this part or add something from this part and it does a much better job of not changing the rest.
I think you may have just covered the second part of the question, but I'll go ahead and read it. Also, when editing text in an image, it sometimes seems to adjust other parts unexpectedly. Why does that happen? Is there a way to prevent it?
Yeah, not in ChatGPT, though I imagine they will release a feature soon that allows you to select a part of an image and just modify that because some of the competitors have that. And I think that's one of the advantages of having a small competitor that just has a niche like image generation. They can evolve and innovate a little bit more quickly than a big company like OpenAI who's trying to do a lot of different things with their platform. So sometimes the latest things don't come to OpenAI, but sometimes they're the first to release a brand new AI model. So, it's a very evolving and rapidly changing landscape.
Let's see. Next question. Can you set multiple voices and tones? For example, I work with multiple businesses and write content for all of them, and they vary quite a bit.
Yeah, great question. Yes, you can. And the way that I typically do that in my own workflow is I'll create a chat that's for a specific client or business. And at the beginning of the chat, thread, I'll just say, hey, here's the tone, here's the style we're going to use. And then, message over message, week over week, month over month, I'll just go back to that chat and continue. And it'll just be a very long thread of all the conversations, but it will then adhere to the style that you specified. And the entire chat will be that way. You can have another chat for another client and another chat for another client.
Let's see. If you have a conversation and you can't put it in a folder, um, why does it do that? The list gets longer if you archive it down, it shows in the folder. Did you follow?
Sorry, you cut out there for a moment.
Okay, so this is what it says. If you have a conversation and you can't put it in a folder, why does it do that? The list gets longer. If you archive it, does it show in the folder?
I'm not quite sure of the question.
So
If you archive a message, it does typically is not going to show up in the folder.
Okay.
system, though.
Diana, if you want to elaborate on that question, we'll see if we can get
Yeah.
that answered. Okay, so the earlier question, the two-part question. So our attendee is saying, I actually meant that often I am happy with a written story or blog post. However, I want a few things to change and ask for that change. And then it changes other parts without telling me.
Of the image, yeah.
So yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not sure. I
that's the
think that
limit.
might be the written part too they're talking about.
Oh, okay. Well,
So
with
yeah,
images, that's the limitation that I've noticed with ChatGPT is
okay.
it will change random elements of the image, and there's no way to really prevent that at this point.
Okay. Let's see if Diana has so there was someone earlier said maybe briefly tell the group you can edit memories, you can ask GPT how, and it will walk you through. And I'm not sure what part they're referencing, but maybe if you know a
Yeah.
little bit more about that.
So as I mentioned in the settings, you can kind of enter in a chat box things you want it to permanently remember about you. So those are called the memories. I think it's the memory section. So yeah, you can again put in things you want it to permanently remember about you in any future interactions there in the settings in the memories section. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I saved memories. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Diana has not elaborated. You have any, while we wait to see if any other questions drop in, Cameron, do you have any last words of wisdom?
Well, only that great questions, and I hope that as you go and explore AI and experience it, that you are creative in how you approach it, because every 3 or 4 months it changes and evolves quite rapidly. So I would just keep an open mind and be curious as you use it for your business and double check facts. And I think you'll be on a good path to ensure your business stays agile and effective into the future.
Thank you. And Diana did elaborate. I'm going to go back and read her first question and then her second
Okay.
part. Okay. So the first was if you have a conversation and you can't put it in a folder, why does it do that? The list gets longer. If you archive it, it does show in the folder. And then, so the list gets long. So, I'm sorry, some items do not allow you to put them in a folder.
It could be some sort of a bug you're experiencing. Folders are a way to organize groups of chats in ChatGPT, which is a feature they released this year, the folder system. From my experience, I've always been able to put a chat in a folder. It might be something worth reaching out to ChatGPT at technical support about, because I'm really not sure, if you're having problems with archiving or putting things into folders, what would cause that?
And she said, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't see any other questions dropping in, and we are just about at time. And I'm sure the information you've given is probably sitting on people's brains like this. So I'll go ahead and wrap us up. Cameron, thank you as always for great information. And I want to thank everyone who joined us today and remind you, you will receive an email with a link to the recording and to the slides. If you would like to sign up for upcoming webinars or access recorded webinars, please visit virginiasbdc.org/training. This webinar and other SBD resources are designed to be used in collaboration with your local SBDC advisors. You can sign up for a free and confidential session by emailing help@virginiasbdc.org or via our website. And we hope to see you all at our next session. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.